The observer effect, the quantum physics principle that changes everything about your life. Introduction: is reality fixed? What if reality, at its most fundamental level, isn't solid until it's observed? Not as a metaphor. Not as philosophy. As physics. For over a century, one of the most replicated experiments in science has challenged our deepest assumptions about how the universe works. It suggests that at the quantum level, the act of observation plays a crucial role in determining outcomes. This phenomenon is known as the observer effect, and while it originates in physics, its implications stretch far beyond the lab, reaching into how you think, perceive, and ultimately live your life. By understanding what the observer effect is, and what it isn't, you gain a powerful new lens for interpreting reality and shaping your experience of it. The experiment that changed everything. The story begins with the famous double-slit experiment. Scientists fire tiny particles, like electrons or photons, toward a barrier with two narrow openings. Behind the barrier sits a screen that records where the particles land. Here's what happens. Without observation, the particles create an interference pattern, like waves overlapping in water. This suggests each particle travels through both slits at once, a phenomenon tied to wave-particle duality. With observation, measurement, the interference pattern disappears. Instead, the particles behave like solid objects, going through one slit or the other. Same setup. Same particles. Only one difference: measurement. Observation changes the outcome. This has been confirmed not just with light and electrons, but with larger molecules, pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible. The implication is profound. At the quantum level, reality behaves differently depending on whether it is measured. What the observer effect actually means. Let's be clear, because this is where confusion often begins. In physics, observation does not mean human awareness. It means interaction with a measuring device. When a detector is placed at the slit, it physically interacts with the particle, altering its behavior. Most physicists explain this using quantum decoherence. When a quantum system interacts with its environment, it loses its wave-like properties and behaves classically. There's also the famous measurement problem, the unresolved question of how and why quantum possibilities collapse into a single outcome. A minority view, the von Neumann-Wigner interpretation, suggests consciousness itself may play a role in this collapse. While intriguing, it remains outside mainstream consensus. So no, your thoughts don't directly control electrons across the room. But that doesn't mean the observer effect has nothing to do with your life. The neuroscience bridge, your brain as an observer. Here's where things become deeply personal. Your brain processes roughly 11 million bits of information per second, yet you're consciously aware of only about 50 bits. So who decides what you notice? Enter the reticular activating system, RAS, a network in your brainstem that acts as a filter, prioritizing information based on relevance. And what determines relevance? Your beliefs. Your expectations. Your dominant focus. This means your brain is constantly observing reality on your behalf, selecting certain details while ignoring others. If you believe opportunities are scarce, your brain filters for limitation. If you believe opportunities are everywhere, your brain starts spotting them. You're not changing the external universe. You're changing the version of it you perceive. Add neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated thought, and you get a powerful feedback loop. What you consistently observe shapes how your brain is wired. And how your brain is wired determines what you continue to observe. The placebo effect, belief becomes biology. If you want real-world proof that observation influences outcomes, look at the placebo effect. Patients given inactive treatments, like sugar pills, often experience real improvements. Reduced pain. Altered brain activity. Measurable physiological changes. Their belief in the treatment creates a biological response. Then there's the Pygmalion effect, where expectations influence performance. In a classic study, students randomly labeled as high potential actually performed better, simply because teachers treated them differently. Expectation shapes perception. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. This is the observer effect, not at the quantum scale, but at the human level. 3 practical ways to apply the observer effect. You don't need a physics lab to use this principle. You just need awareness. 1. The morning observation reset. Before checking your phone, take 5 minutes to visualize your desired outcome as already real. Then intentionally notice 3 things in your environment that support that vision. This primes your brain to look for alignment. 2. The reality rewriting journal. Each evening, write about your day as if your ideal outcome already happened. Use present tense. Add detail. You're training your brain to observe a new version of reality. 3. The observer pause. When facing a challenge, stop and ask, what am I choosing to observe right now? Shift from problem-focused thinking to possibility-focused thinking. Even a 60-second reset can change your trajectory. Conclusion: you are not just watching reality. The observer effect reminds us of something both humbling and empowering. At the quantum level, observation influences outcomes. At the human level, attention shapes experience. You are not a passive passenger in life. You are an active observer, constantly filtering, interpreting, and responding to reality. And while you may not control the universe itself, you absolutely influence the version of it you experience. So the real question is, are you observing your life by default or by design? Get your copy on Amazon and start living quantum.